Hey everyone, I'm Dan, and welcome back to the Rock Nerd Radio Show here on YouTube. We are on the fourth day of my Transformers week of reviews, and we will be doing a Which is Better today. But first, it's a little bit of Rock Nerd story time. You know, back when I was a kid, I went to a garage sale, and I knew as a kid that sometimes the Transformer toys in toy form didn't match their animation models. I don't know how I knew that. Maybe a friend of mine had Galvatron. I knew he was a different color. But I went to this garage sale and I found a Transformer that turned into a car and a helicopter. And I assumed he was Springer. So I bought Springer. He was like $2. I took Springer along with me on a lot of adventures. He was one of my favorite Transformer toys as a kid, and I still have it. It wasn't until years later, when I was like 12 or 13, that I caught a rerun of a G1 episode on the USA Network on the Cartoon Express, I remember, and found out that that character was actually a character called Sandstorm. It wasn't Springer. So it kind of shocked my whole world, and then I eventually went on to find a G1 Springer. But I still had Sandstorm, and Sandstorm is a really cool character, and I was very excited when this year the Transformers team announced a new leader class G1 Sandstorm. I picked it up. I have him. I think he's a great figure. But there is another Sandstorm that I think you can compare it to, because he's an equally good figure. So today, we're going to take a look at the Legacy United Sandstorm and the Thrilling 30 era Sandstorm to see if we can't decide which one, well, is better.
Come geek out with us on the Rock Nerd Radio Show.
So welcome to this edition of Which is Better, which I said we'll be looking at the Thrilling 30 era Sandstorm and the new Legacy United Leader Class Sandstorm. There's a lot to talk about here, and I'm actually going to award points to all three modes that this figure has, because he has a triple changer. So there's a robot mode and two vehicle modes. We are starting with the car mode. I guess it's supposed to be kind of like a dune buggy, and I do have my original Sandstorm that I talked about right here, so you can see him. But this is, of course, how the original one kind of looked. I think this is actually supposed to be like that, like a spoiler. But yeah, this is how the original one looks, and the Thrilling 31, the Legacy United one imitates that very well with some nice updates and using all the accessories on that figure as well. You can see there's a little gun, there's the bottom of the cage, there's the top of the cage, there's the string part, there's his big gun. So, he imitates this very, very nicely. Looking at the Thrilling 30 Sandstorm, this is like a crazy looking Cybertronian kind of dune buggy. These big giant wheels in the back, small ones in the front, kind of gives them that cool like downward slope, in the figure. The new one also has this like downward slope, but I feel like it looks a little janky compared to the Thrilling 31. So, as much as I like the original figure, I think the Thrilling 30 Sandstorm has a better car mode. I think this looks a lot more exciting. This looks different, and it looks like it just looks really cool. So I'm going to give the first point to this round to this Sandstorm, but we're going to take a look at their two helicopters. So I'm going to move them out of the way and transform them, and then bring them back in their helicopter modes. So bringing back everything into the frame here in their now helicopter mode. Here is Thrilling 30 right here. Here is the Legacy United Sandstorm right here. Of course, there we go. There's Sandstorm. And these are two very different helicopter modes. There's no getting around it. This is like a VTOL, I guess you'd call it, kind of futuristic-y, sci-fi. The wheels now are the propellers. And it does look neat. To me, it always looks like it's kind of squished together, like a bit of a mishmash of pieces. Let me move this one real quick. I think it's neat. I think if you're going for a Cybertronian look, it does fit. But something about it just never sat right with me. The fact that a lot of it becomes like untabbed as I'm messing around with it always kind of bothered me. Here is our new Sandstorm in a helicopter, and this is indeed a helicopter. Maybe a little disproportionate at times, but it looks like a helicopter, and there is weapon storage for all the weapons. There is some wheels here, landing gear wise, and the other wheels are hidden pretty well. These little orange wheels also work as landing gear. The cage that it comes with, the rescue cage, can peg on to the bottom of the figure on the side, so you can incorporate that as well. In fact, I want to show you instead of just talking about it. Here's the cage. so you can peg that on anywhere that there is a peg hole, and then you can have the cage lowered. Oop, if the peg didn't come out. There you go. You can have the cage lowered to rescue something or someone or whatever your adventure is going to be that day. But definitely more of a Earth-based looking helicopter, and just to bring in the original mode, the original figure helicopter. Here it is. So very similar in looks to the new one. Again, a helicopter, an Earth-looking helicopter, which I kind of dig. So in terms of the better helicopter mode, even though this is like neat and different and kind of sci-fi, this looks like what I always kind of wanted it to look like. So I'm giving the points to the helicopter mode to our legacy version. We're going to quickly take these off the frame again and turn them into their robot mode so we can compare all of their robot modes. And so bringing everybody in their robot mode, we'll start with the Thrilling 30 version. So here he is. Let me raise the camera a little bit so you can see him a little better. There we go. This is the Thrilling 30 version of Sandstorm, who does have a little trouble standing because his backpack is so large. And a couple things to say. I was looking back at the original instructions for this figure, and the original instructions do say, the official instructions say that this piece is supposed to stay up like this. But I always kind of liked to just put it flush behind him so you didn't have it sticking up like that. But this is what the Thrilling 30 Sandstorm looks like. In terms of our new Legacy United Sandstorm, this is what it looks like. And, the crazy thing is that this was sold as a leader class figure here in 2024. When this came out as part of the Thrilling 30 line, that was a Voyager. And he's kind of bigger than the quote-unquote leader class. And, I know their claim that the engineering, the parts, the weapons bump it up to a leader class. But I do kind of think it is a little crazy, the difference that they're claiming in these figures here, because really, the size here is kind of surprising. This is a huge figure, and was significantly cheaper than this leader class. So originally, I should say. But again, looking at this, I kind of see our new one as a bit of a cleaner robot mode. Now, I'll be the first to admit, yes, there is a backpack. But if we're comparing the two backpacks, his is just kind of up against his back. His is kind of thrown out all over the place. Like if I turn them fully around, he has tires and all kinds of bits hanging off of him. He does too, but I feel like it's a little cleaner, especially if you're looking at them from the front. This Sandstorm does have some large feet, I'll admit that, but they do help him stand. This one probably could have used some larger feet because, like I said, if I try to stand him up straight, he doesn't really, actually, now he's going to do it, of course. Before he wasn't standing up straight, now he is. It might be because I have him holding his very large missile launcher. But again, I always kind of think back to my original Sandstorm in robot mode when I'm thinking of Sandstorm. And that's going to be what makes it here for me. Legacy United is going to win this round with two better looking modes compared to the Thrilling 30s. One, but, I'm not trying to knock the Thrilling 31. I think it's a very unique IDW take on Sandstorm. I think he does look very good. But I want something that looks more like my original Sandstorm. So that's why he's taking the victory on this one, or taking more points on this one. So as you might be used to, my second round when I do a which is better comparison is about the articulation of the figure. And this figure has some pretty nice points of articulation. Just to start with the head here, it is on a ball joint, so it can look up and down, left and right. A lot of wiggle and waggle movement in there, which is good. The back piece propellers, I don't know if I can really count it as articulation, but they do move. So, maybe you want to have him in a flight kind of position where these VTOLs are helping him fly. That's an option that you have. It's not bad, but it's not like an official point of articulation. In terms of the arms, they will go around. These get in the way, but again, you can kind of bump these out of the way, and we're still crashing in back here. So they don't go fully around, but they do move up and down. They move out about that far. And again, a lot of that is because there's a transformation joint here, but you can also move the shoulders up and down, so that's nice. At the arm, we do have full rotation. Actually, not full rotation. I take that back. No, okay, we do. All right, we do have full rotation at the wrist. You just got to make sure all the transformation bits are out of the way. single joint bend on the arm there. Not quite 90 degrees, just maybe just about 90 degrees. The wrist does rotate in and out, but that's it for the wrist articulation. In terms of the waist, we do have waist articulation, so he can twist. Looking at the legs, they kick forward, and they do kick back. They also kick out. There is an articulation joint here at the leg. Single joint knee allows for a pretty decent bend. And at the foot, no type of real articulation. I mean, you can raise and lower the toe, but I think that's more for a transformation than actually standing and posing the figure. So his articulation is pretty decent, even for, like, you know, what you would consider modern day action figures. He's really not as old as you might think. I do forget what year he came out, but he still looks pretty good. So his articulation is pretty good. I will bring in our Thrilling 30 Sandstorm now. There we go. So here he is. And in terms of his articulation, his head is on a ball joint, but because of like where all the panels are, there's not a lot of up or down. There is a lot of twist, but again, like because of these little pegs here, it's kind of hard to get your fingers in there to really twist him around. The arms can do a little bit of butterfly motion because of transformation, but I'm going to peg that back up. The arms themselves will go all the way around. Do have to move them a little bit out of the way of the shoulder pads here, but there is a single joint bend at the elbow, which is a little more than 90 degrees. There's also, you know, rotation here, and the arms, I think I forgot to say, go out. So there we go. In terms of the hands, they do rotate around. So no upper, well, a little bit of up or down movement, but not a whole lot. Again, that's mostly because of transformation. At the waist, we have rotation. Legs will go out way high, so some high kicks there, and back about that far. Legs again go all the way out. There is rotation up there at the thigh. We have a nice knee joint, bends a little less than 90. And in terms of the feet, we do have some back and forth because of transformation, but it's there. And we do have ankle pivots as well, so he can stand at a little bit of an angle. So I'm going to bring both my Sandstorms back in so we can give my final verdict here. And just to say it, anything beats the G1 version. He's kind of a brick. The only real articulation you have is his hands being able to go up and down, and they are stubby at that. So kind of a brick in my my original one. Still loved him, but yeah, not a whole lot of articulation. Now, in all actuality, these articulations on these figures, the articulation is very similar. You know, there's not a whole lot of changes going on with these. We do have some improvements here, namely this Sandstorm can rotate his arms all the way around, and he has ankle movements, which that one doesn't have. He can kick a little higher, so by a very slim margin, our Legacy version of Sandstorm is going to take my second round, the articulation round. Again, like they're very similar with what they got, but he just has a little bit more in terms of stuff. He also has those like faux butterfly joints. So yeah, that's why I'm giving it to this version. Round 3 is about the accessories of the figures, and this Sandstorm came with this big blaster, and you may have seen it before when I had him in car mode. It does store in car mode. It does also store in helicopter mode. You can kind of like mount it underneath it, so it's like a pointing down in helicopter mode. But this is his blaster, and it is one of those friction missile launchers that they were doing at the time. So in order to make this launch, you have to kind of press the entire body of the weapon itself down, and the missile launches out. They weren't doing springs at this point. As a weapon, it doesn't look that bad. I will say it is a little oversized, maybe even comically oversized. Like if he's holding this blaster, like it is a big weapon. And he looks good kind of holding it with two hands, I guess. But it is a big, kind of silly looking weapon. Not bad. I mean, for what they were going for, if this was like a Cybertronian version of Sandstorm, yeah, I could see this as his Cybertronian weapon. So yeah, it's not bad, but we're going to take a look at the other Sandstorm's weapons now, just to see how they compare. So here is my new Legacy United Sandstorm, and you can already see a couple of the weapons on him. He has this blaster, which looks like the blaster the original one came with, obviously just a lot bigger. I actually never had the gun from my original Sandstorm. Part of me wants to try to track that down. But yeah, here's his blaster. He also has this other smaller blaster, which he can hold. I like to use it as like a wrist blaster. I think it looks kind of neat, you know, just something like that if he needs to suppress some Decepticons. I think that looks really cool. And then the other accessory that this figure has, which I showed it off before, I think it's a little weird. It comes with this rescue cage. Now, I guess, you know, if he is an Autobot and he's like a search and rescue type character, he would be maybe lifting people to safety in something like this. It is on a string, so it can pull down and hover. You can have him hold this, or, you know, you can connect it to his arm. So it can kind of be like a trap that he is throwing out if you want. For an accessory like this is like a play feature to me. And honestly, like I'm almost 40. I'm not exactly playing with these figures anymore. I just, you know, I have them on a shelf. Pardon me as I wind this back up. And I pose them. I don't necessarily know if this accessory is going to like live on the shelf with Sandstorm. Yeah, the blasters look fine, but what am I going to do with this one? Like, you know, while I've been waiting to review it, I've just kind of had it pegged into the back of him here and like hanging out, and you can't even really see that it's there. But it, you know, it's probably not going to be something. I'll probably throw this in my parts bin and just leave it be. But I'm going to bring in the Thrilling 30 Sandstorm once again, just so we have both. Because really what it comes down to is what I'm looking at are their blaster accessories. And as much as I like a big, silly blaster, I think these blasters make a little more sense. You know, first off, that one being an homage to the original, and this extra little blaster, I think is just a better look for Sandstorm than this giant, comically large blaster. And I understand why they were doing it at the time. They like things to have missile launchers. But yeah, I'm giving round 3 to the Legacy United version of Sandstorm. Alright, and just keeping these guys in their robot modes here for my 4th round, which is the price and overall availability of these figures. The Legacy United Sandstorm is currently available probably in stores and online. I got mine off Hasbro Pulse. But because it's a leader class, we are looking at $55. The Thrilling 30 version of Sandstorm over here, I don't remember the original price of it, and I was trying to look online. I wasn't really finding any good numbers, but some recent sales on eBay, which is going to be where you have to find this thing mostly, I mean, unless you find it at like a convention or something, this is selling for around $30. That's a pretty good price, again, considering the size of it, how big it is, you know, the engineering behind it. It looks pretty good. So even though you got to find it on sites like eBay and stuff, you know, again, you might be buying the Legacy version off an online site. I think the Thrilling 30 takes it for price and overall availability. It seems like a lot of people are dumping theirs currently, maybe in favor of the Legacy one, but now might be your chance to grab this figure if you never have. So yeah, I'm giving price and availability to our Thrilling 30 version. I really think it is just the better buy at the moment. And of course, all of this leads us over to our display compatibility round, the 5th and final round. Listen, I tend to be a person who goes with G1 style. Like I said, I want a Sandstorm that matches the Sandstorm. This has been one of my favorites since a kid, so I wanted one that matches it. And obviously, the Legacy United one does. However, you can't say that this version isn't a Legacy one. It's just from a Cybertronian update Legacy. You know, this is how he appeared eventually in IDW, and the first IDW continuity was supposed to be a continuation of the G1 continuity. With that said, which one do I think is better for my shelf at the moment? That's going to be the Legacy one. He is going to take round 5. I want something that looks as close to that original G1 figure, and to a degree animation model. I know the animation model has some differences, but as close to it as possible. So that's why I'm giving it to our Legacy Evolution, or Legacy United version of Sandstorm. Look, at the end of the day, it almost doesn't feel right saying that either of these figures is better than the other one. They are both really nice. Honestly, I feel like figures like this walked so that figures like this could run. We have come a long way in just the aesthetic and the look and the feel of Transformer toys. I really feel like what we're getting now are like damn near close to just mini masterpiece figures. Yeah, neither of these are perfect. They do have some flaws, but overall they are both really, really good. In fact, this is one of the few times where I'll admit I don't plan on necessarily getting rid of either of these. This is going to live on my Season 3 Autobot shelf with my G1 figure, G1 inspired figures. And honestly, I've been toying around with making like a shelf of characters as they appear in comics. This would probably be where this one goes. In fact, the Springer that this one is based off of, kind of like a remold of, I never got rid of that Springer either because I really like the look of that Springer. So let me know which one of these Sandstorm figures is your favorite. There's also been a number of characters with the name Sandstorm. I have a G2 Jet. I believe there was a Scorponok repaint. But these are the ones I'm going with. So let me know which version of Sandstorm you like better. Do you plan on tracking down either of these? Do you have both? Do you have one? I would love to hear it. And until next time, I've been Dan. You've been pretty awesome. I'll see you around. Well, there we go. What did you think of this video? Sound off in the comments below. I would love to hear from you. Remember, we are making a push to get to 700 subscribers here on the channel. If we do that before the HasLab Giant Man arrives, I will be giving away the old Toy Biz Giant Man Build-A-Figure that you've seen on my shelf and things like that. So hit subscribe, leave a comment, hit like if you're so inclined, and I'll see you next time. Thanks for tuning in.
Come geek